is speaking with her defense attorney today. And we now know more about the incident that forced the cancellation of the Matamidi homecoming, football game. This is quite the story. A family taken hostage for hours, all for their Bitcoin. So Karen Scullen is looking into this one for us tonight. Also, a $21 million budget shortfall in the Robbinsdale School District has district leaders considering combining Cooper and Armstrong high schools. So we'll break this down and the possible budget solutions and how this could all work. Plus, Isaiah Rodgers is named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. No surprise here as the Vikings prepare for Europe. He tells us his strategy for his peanut punch technique. So we'll talk about that coming up. That was my week one.
And there's a name for it.
I know.
I love it.
I didn't know that until like yesterday, but
awesome.
Here we are.
All right, meteorologist Cody Matz is here to talk a little bit about what we're looking at. Does it look hazy, or is that just kind of not really?
Not really.
Okay.
It's just the camera.
We're
really zoomed in. Yeah, and it's super nice. Out there right now. Dew points have fallen a little bit. We did wake up a little patchy fog in some cases, but it doesn't get a whole lot nicer in this time of year. We're going to talk more about that and just the change we've had since the first week of September. It is kind of jarring, not in a bad way, but still jarring nonetheless. So right now sitting at 74, dew points have fallen a little bit, back in the middle 50s. Winds out of the north right now, very, very light, and it's going to stay that way for pretty much the foreseeable future. So there's some of the fog. It lifted as we headed through the 9 and 10 o'clock hours, and it's been pretty sunny ever since. Hang on to the clouds and the fog the longest across southeastern Minnesota yet again, so that kept temperatures for the most part in the upper 60s. Have managed to 75 here in the metro. A lot of those numbers across central and eastern Minnesota, some pocket upper 70s across portions of the west. Okay, so look at the high temperatures today, and then think about this. This may be the coldest day we have for the next week.
Well,
I thought I would get a round of applause.
Yes.
Thank you. I have nothing to do with it, but thank you. We'll talk more about, of course, that 7-day forecast coming up here in about 19 minutes.
All right, Cody, thank you. Well, today we saw the first federal charges stemming from a massive fraud investigation into Minnesota autism centers and a connection to Feeding Our Future. Fox 9's Corin Hoggard live for us at the federal courthouse in Minneapolis. So, Corin, what can you tell us about this overlap between these two massive fraud cases?
Yeah, Amy, Asha Farhan Hassan is the 76th Feeding Our Future defendant, but she's the first Autism Center's investigation defendant. And if you listen to the interim U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson or even Hassan's attorney, she's probably not going to be the last. So the case against her basically says that she started smart therapy centers and registered them as an autism service provider, and she had a couple of secret partners there as well. And what they did was they went out and they grabbed families and got kids and signed them up, and then made sure all of those kids got autism diagnoses. Then they could bill Medicaid for services, and they did just that. They billed the maximum amount for all of those services, but they really provided almost none. In fact, they were hiring unqualified, uneducated, untrained family members and friends to allegedly provide these services. Meanwhile, they're paying kickbacks to the parents of these kids. In fact, sometimes they had to compete with other supposed autism centers to keep these kids. So in all, they billed about $14 million for autism services. And while all that's going on, they started to join Feeding Our Future, and they billed for feeding children, as many as 1,200 kids allegedly being fed every single day of the week. That ended up being a total of almost $500,000 more billed to the government.
All right, so Corin, you talked with Hassan's attorney about this case today, right? So there's something about wire fraud in here. There's a charge. Am I reading this right, that they're planning to fight that?
No, not likely. Actually, Ryan Pasiga is her defense attorney, and he told me she's probably going to plead guilty in the next few weeks. He said she really kind of initially intended to do good here, but like a lot of other people who get involved in these programs, she got wrapped up, she saw loopholes, and she jumped through them. He called this basically a perfect storm, though. He said, you know, a lot of business owners are willing to take advantage. Just general public the community willing to take advantage, and a huge failure in government oversight.
I don't think that the people who are administering these government programs, whether it's the food program or the autism program or the housing stabilization program or whatever you're going to have next, are doing a good job of training people.
I should note that the government, the state of Minnesota, has changed the way that they fund these programs and investigate these programs, but that is a fairly recent development. And while that's happening, the feds now have a fraud total that's pushing $300 million. They say that's probably going to go up quite a bit because they're expecting a lot more defendants in this autism center's investigation, as well as one into the housing stabilization services.
Wow. All right. Corin, thank you so much.
Now to a story that we have been following out of Washington County. 2 men from Texas facing felony charges, accused of kidnapping a family, holding them hostage for hours, and then stealing thousands in cryptocurrency. Fox 9's Karen Scullin joins us now with more on this story. Karen, quite the story here. Let's start with this home invasion. It was pretty early when the suspects targeted this home, right?
Yeah, I mean, this story is really crazy, almost unbelievable. But right, it started about 7:45 on Friday morning. 2 guys, 2 of the defendants in this case, went down Inwood Way here to a home and started a home invasion. They approached a man who was out with his garbage cans, taking out the garbage cans, and then held him at gunpoint, walked him into the garage, zip-tied the mother and son that were inside this home, and then forced that man to actually get into his cryptocurrency account and transfer money to some unknown cyber wallet. But that is not all. Then one of those defendants actually got this man with the cryptocurrency to get in a car and drive 3 hours to his cabin, where he apparently was storing another cryptocurrency account. Another transfer happened to the tune of $36,000, so about $72,000 in total. So then they get in the car and come back. By this time, 9 hours had passed. The son inside was able to sneak a call to 911. So as they were coming back from the cabin, law enforcement was showing up. These 2 guys took off. They dumped an AR-15 rifle. They dumped also, that was found inside of a suitcase with some bottles and other cans. And then also a Wendy's receipt inside there helped police actually solve all of this. And another gun was found as well. It was then the manhunt was underway, and that took a couple of days.
Well, I know so much time had passed, but I'm glad that person was able to call 911 when they did. This certainly sounds like something out of a movie. Karen, the family doesn't even know these suspects, right? Any idea why they were targeted specifically?
Well, so they don't know them. They don't know each other in any way. But as it turns out, the man involved in this told police that his data was hacked, that there was some sort of a data breach or a data leak of his cryptocurrency account information, and he believes that's how his name, his address, and other information got out there, and that's what put these 2 guys onto him.
And Karen, you mentioned some of the items that were kind of left behind, the Wendy's receipt, the police kind of showing up at the same time. How exactly were they able to track them down?
Well, there was a lot of video from the neighborhood here. That a lot of people have cameras, so they were able to see sort of which way they went and that kind of thing. But what really seemed to be key into helping police track them down was that Wendy's receipt. They were able to go get surveillance video from around the Wendy's. They got the car, they got the plate off of there. They were able to see that that car was a rent-a-car that was rented in Texas, way down in Texas, in Waller, Texas, in the name of one of the defendants. So it was pretty easy to trace from there. Eventually, they went down with the help of the law enforcement down there. They were able to arrest them at their home. The rent-a-car was there. They obviously searched their home, found more evidence as well. But there is one big looming question in all of this. During the time where he was having the man transfer the cryptocurrency, he was on the phone with a third party who was helping him with that process. So if police know who that is or where they are, it's not in court documents. So I think there's still a lot to uncover here with this case. Simone?
Wow. Again, Karen, sounds like something definitely out of a movie. And who knew a Wendy's receipt? Like sometimes it's just little things that help out in a really big way. Glad this family, though, Karen, is okay. Karen Scullin reporting live tonight. Thank you, Karen.
They are.
Wow.
All right, a scary morning in Dallas, an ICE detention facility. Still not a lot of information here, but we do know that an ICE detainee has died and 2 other detainees are critically injured after somebody opened fire there from a distance. Now, officials say the shooter is also dead. It happened just after 6:30 this morning. No law enforcement were heard in that attack, and we will have a live report coming up from Dallas. That'll be at about 5:30. And new here tonight at 5, a man convicted of first-degree murder more than 2 years ago just got a reduced sentence. In 2001, Brian K. Pippett was found guilty in the 1998 murder of Evelyn Mallon. Well, today the State Board of Pardons voted to reduce his sentence after considering a wrongful accusation report that was filed by the Great North Innocence Project in 2024. Its a 2-year investigation found that Pippett was not the killer and recommended he be fully exonerated. Now, it's unclear just how much time will be taken off of Pippett's sentence. And also, this happened just before the noon hour. A contractor died in a construction zone this afternoon. It was 35W and Highway 13 in Burnsville. State Patrol telling us that a contractor was walking when he was struck and killed by a construction vehicle with one of those boom attachments. No other workers or vehicles were involved.
Well, more developments out of Robbinsdale as the school district tries to find solutions for a $21 million budget shortfall. The school board making a few recommendations at a meeting Tuesday night, including having fewer middle schools and also closing some elementary schools and merging Cooper and Armstrong high schools, which would require building a new high school. Voters would have to approve a referendum for a building bond.
Okay, well,
it's supposed to get warmer.
It
is what
is.
Cody says. I'm ready.
I'm loving this weather this week, Cody.
Yeah.
I mean,
really nice.
To be in September and to have this kind of a gift is unbelievable.
And what a change from like the first week. Do you remember the first week where like the siren bells were going off and people were freaking out like, oh my goodness, we're not going to have fall. Winter, it's going to start snowing on Tuesday. And people were losing their minds. Exhibit A, Simone, losing her mind.
Probably. No. But you know where my mind goes now. This is how my mind works.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, it's nice this week. And you said it's going to get warmer. And I'm like, okay, are we going to have to pay for this?
No.
That's not how this works.
When's the other shoe going to drop? Kind of thing.
There isn't a shoe. There's not another shoe that drops.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to trust you on that one.
I mean, Mother Nature doesn't take stock and go, 2 for the good guys, 1 for the bad guys. Well, they got to get the other.
But sometimes she works a little earlier than she's supposed to.
True. You're not wrong. This is later in the year in terms of how many 75+ degree days we're getting. So enjoy that while it lasts. And I did want to point this out. So 2 different stats here. Coldest first week of September at MSP Airport. 5th in terms of coldest first weeks. It was actually 5th coldest on record here in the Twin Cities, coldest since 1974. But since then, so we go past the 7th of September, so the 8th through yesterday, it's been the 5th warmest on record. So an incredible change for the month of September, and we're just going to roll this moving forward. 74 right now. Winds out of the north at just a couple miles an hour. It is phenomenally clear. A weak little cold front will start to push its way in, but that will drop us from the 80s of tomorrow to the upper 70s as we get into the weekend. We're going to talk all about it. Of course, that 70 forecast coming up here at 5:19.
All right, thanks, Cody. Well, shooter fires from a rooftop near an immigration detention facility in Dallas. At least 1 detainee is dead, and there were messages on the bullets.
Yeah, we'll tell you what they said in a live report coming up. And the Vikings are getting ready to head across the pond for back-to-back games in Europe. We are checking in with Sports Director Jim Rich.